First, I'd like to respond to my opponent's complaint regarding my speed. He claims that the speed at which I speak hinders debate. If he's so worried about not having enough time to respond to my analysis, why is he wasting 30 seconds of a 3-minute speech complaining? Additionally, he then goes on to offer refutation at every point that I made. Clearly, my speed hasn't hindered his ability to refute my arguments, as he does so with time to spare. On those arguments, Judge, he makes a moral framework argument, but his only warrants were that we test on lots of animals, those animals feel pain, and that pain is bad. My opponent also argued that with my 6% statistic, 4.8 million animals currently experience pain in animal testing practices. My response in my constructive was twofold. One, that few animals experience any pain, and well over 80 to 100 million human beings are currently in pain as a result of the afflictions that these tests could help to fight or cure altogether. And two, the vast number of humans who suffer in chronic pain, suffering that would be perpetuated by the pro's position, outweighs the pain suffered by the animals. Regardless of my speed, he has the opportunity to refute this, and he mishandles it. First, his moral framework lacks foundation, support, or proof, and my refutation goes substantially unchallenged. Second, his entire morality argument is justified by claiming that pain is wrong. I've proven that over 100 million humans are in pain and that need investigative treatment to hope for a cure. I've proven that 94% of all animals tested feel no pain. Pain is worse for humans in scope, magnitude, and time frame, and this turns his morality claim. Next, my opponent argues that my evidence from the FDA in 1994 is out of date. However, he simply doesn't understand the evidence contained within that article. The article points out that in vitro testing and in silico tests cannot provide us with the feedback on two things: the painfulness of the test substance being administered, and the ability of the tissue to heal after exposure. A mass of non-sentient human cells cannot possibly communicate whether or not something is painful, and test tube cells do not heal. The scientist in the article says that this won't change. My opponent must now prove that we have tests that can do these things, or else we have to accept some animal testing. Then my opponent argued that drugs passed by the animal testing occasionally end up harming human beings. However, according to the FDA, from 1938 to 2011, 11,609 new drugs were approved in the FDA under the Food and Drug Act of 1906. My opponent has identified 50 in that same time period that failed. This is 4,000 of all the drugs introduced into the market. His argument again lacks impact. Finally, my opponent suggests that genome testing is a possible alternative to in vivo live animal testing. According to my opponent's own words, this is one possible alternative that has shown promising results. It is, however, still in its infancy. It does not constitute a viable alternative to live animal testing, as it has not been approved by the FDA as a suitable replacement for animal testing. As it is the most widely accepted and implemented form of human in vitro testing methods, the data chip is not without its flaws. Its own creator, Dr. Jonathan Dordick, even says that it can't replace all animal testing, only reduce the number of animals being tested on. One last thing, ignored in this debate is all the evidence that I read from 2008 about how animal testing can be performed in a humane and non-destructive way. Charles River Labs is held up as the gold standard for humane animal testing. Animal testing is not the grotesque monster that it was 20 years ago. We've learned how to respect the animals and minimize their suffering and death. Judge, this debate comes down to one and only one question you must answer. Can we ban all animal testing and still maintain a level of medical advancement that we need in order to reduce human suffering? It has nothing to do with the morality of causing animals pain. If pain is bad, humans shouldn't suffer either. Not testing will increase human suffering and save little animal suffering. My opponent fails to show how animal testing alternatives can completely replace animal tests. He cannot in one breath ask for a total ban on testing and the next talk about how such alternatives work and the rest are promising. Finally, my opponent does not refute my evidence and arguments that animal testing now is humane, effective, and necessary. On these voting issues, you should vote for the opposition. Thank you.